College football is back, and we're back on the Big Mountain, where we give you a fresh take on college football betting focused on the Big Ten and the Mountain West.
Hey, it's great to have you here on the Big Mountain. My name is JY. This is my good friend Steve. And in this episode, we're going to talk about the Mountain West and the great game we had Friday night. Boise State traveling to Snapdragon Stadium in San Diego State. And wow, what a game we had. Really enjoyed watching this. We did a preview episode on this. If you're returning, hey, thanks for watching the preview and thanks for coming back to see what we have to say after the fact. I think you'll find some of the things that I had said about keys to the game turned up to be true, and I'll do a little bit of this and we'll bring those up. But hey, let's go down through this here real quick. I want to give some stats, just overall team stats, and then talk a little bit about how the game went. What impressed me, what maybe I had a little bit of question on. So overall, we're talking total yards here. Boise had 403. San Diego State had 439.
Very close.
You're going to see a lot of these edge a little bit towards San Diego State. Yep. Most of these team stats, other than one really, really big one, hedge towards San Diego State. I was really impressed by San Diego State's offense. That was one of the big question marks I had. It's why I took Boise State at -6.5. I just didn't think San Diego State's offense could keep up, and they did.
Yeah.
Maiden was really good, except for the next team total that I'm going to bring up, which is turnovers. San Diego State had 2, both Maiden fumbles, one at the 1-inch line as he's trying to get into the end zone. Certainly not really his fault. He landed on his head, for Pete's sake, and he was giving it his all to try to get that touchdown. But Boise had 0. So the turnover battle, 2-0. Both turnovers, again, for San Diego State, Maiden fumbles.
And you talked about that as a key to the game, where the two quarterbacks, whichever took care of the ball, had the least turnovers. That'd be a key to the game. So you were right there on it.
And my concern was Green.
Yeah.
My concern was that if Green can keep things under wrap and not have interceptions and fumbles, good chance Boise wins this.
Yep.
Boise, 0 turnovers.
Awesome.
So being one of the keys to the game, that was huge for Boise. Looking at time of possession, San Diego State had 32 minutes. Boise had 28, so fairly close. First downs, San Diego State had 22. Boise had 19. Again, the edge to Boise, not significantly, but the edge to San Diego State.
Slight edge, yeah.
Slight edge. Looking at third downs, Boise was 5 of 13. Okay. San Diego State, 7 of 13. So over 50% on third downs.
Not bad at all.
Not bad at all. And I have to bring this up because it was interesting to me. I mean, they had listed 67% capacity at Snapdragon Stadium. Looking at the stands, I don't even think they were 50%.
Yeah.
And this is one of the marquee games for San Diego State, at least in the Mountain West. They've had some tough schedules here to start outside of conference play. But this is one of the marquee games you're going to have all season at home, and you have a brand new stadium. Yikes.
It makes no sense to me. I mean, San Diego State, yeah, they've had some disappointments as far as the final scores of games, but they're a contender for the Mountain West. This was a huge game, close game against arguably what I think most people picked Boise as the best team in the conference this year. Huge game. Yep. San Diego State's been looking to move up, do great things, and you can't get the fans to come out to this game. And I think what it might have something to do with something that you mentioned on a previous episode. Mm-hmm. Brady Hoke, he has a winning formula. It has worked for him, and he's been successful. The play good defense, run the ball, all of that, but it's not an exciting. Yeah. It's not exciting for fans. You mentioned fans were kind of tired of it; they were over it. So I'm guessing that's the only thing I could think of. Because why would you not want? I was traveling and you were sending me updates. I was hyped for this game. You were hyped for this game.
I was very hyped for this game.
You're sending me updates, and I was loving it. Exciting game. So I'm a little disappointed with San Diego State fans not to get out there.
Totally. And it lived up to the billing. I mean, honestly, and I had said in the preview, I could see this game being under.
Yeah.
And I think it was 45-ish, 45 and a half or something.
Blew that out of
65 points. You talk about Brady Hoke football that's maybe not that exciting. I'll tell you what, San Diego, the surprise in this game for me was San Diego State's offense.
Yep.
Yes, Maiden turned it over 2 times, but I thought he overall was the better quarterback, at least passing the ball. He played very well. We also talked about the limitations of the receivers. We'll get into some of the stats. Very impressed with their top 2 receivers here. Again, we're gonna talk about who that is. Specifically Brooks and Penny. They looked really, really strong getting them the ball. So again, that offense was the surprise for me. But I'm going to go back before we get into the stats and say, my keys to the game here and the reason why I took Boise were really threefold. The first one we talked about was the Green no turnovers.
Yeah.
Big, massive check.
You were on that from the
Zero
beginning.
turnovers for Green, the team in total, but Green. I also talked about how high I was in Genty. Everybody focuses on Helani not being available, but I'll tell you what, this kid is impressive, fun to watch, explosive playmaker. Get him the ball. He was running between the tackles, spitting, juking, chunks of yards right down the gut. Not a big kid. Yeah. I mean, I think he's listed as 5'9", 210 or something like that. Not a big running back, but he runs like he's a big running back, and he has speed. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. Again, we'll get into some of his stats. I was big on him coming into the game. I'm even bigger on him now. He's one of the main reasons Boise State won this game.
And Boise, over the years, of the last 10, 15 years, they've staked their reputation on. They've taken players that maybe a lot of other teams didn't want, some of the big boys didn't want, and being really successful with those players. Mm-hmm. It's exciting now. This Gentry, right? Genty. Blue chip running back. He had offers from some Power 5 programs, and he's doing great with them. It's exciting to see Boise have a player like that. I'm hoping that he continues to have that success. I think it's great for the team, great for the conference. Yep. So I'll be watching him.
Sophomore, looks like a senior, well-seasoned, ready to kick some ass. The kid is he is something to watch. Anyway, we'll get to some of his stats here in a minute. And the other thing that I talked about where I kind of gave the edge, I don't know if it was a key to the game for me, but I certainly gave the edge of special teams to Boise. And that played a big role, too. We're going to get into what the kickers did, specifically what the punters did. Woo! That was it Ferguson Reynolds for Boise? Yeah. He's impressive. He did have, I think, one pretty big flub. But when you can get 3 of your 5 punts inside the 20, and not just inside the 20, I think they were inside the 5.
Yeah, pin them down there.
Fantastic. So, anywho, let's get to, again, some of the just overall play here. So let's look at quarterbacks. Let's look at Green versus Maiden. As I said, I thought overall, let's put the 2 fumbles aside. If I had to say who was the better quarterback in that game, I think it was Maiden. And honestly, coming into the game, I was giving the edge to Green, and I thought Green would be the reason why Boise was going to make this cover, along with please don't turn the ball over,
right?
Which he didn't. But Green was 12 of 22, 167 yards, 1 touchdown. He did have 25 yards running for 1 touchdown. Really nice run from him. He didn't use his legs as much as he probably can, and I'm not sure if that was by design because of this defense or what exactly the case was. He did not use his feet very much in this game. Maiden was 16 of 22, 241 yards, 1 touchdown, 85 yards of rushing with 1 touchdown. So, the stats there say, again, not talking about the 2 fumbles, that Maiden had the better game. And watching the game, I think Maiden did have the better game. He was the stronger overall quarterback.
Can I say about Green, we've talked about San Diego State's defense, how they knocked Ohio's quarterback out in the first game. Maybe that was an intentional coaching strategy coming into this game is, we don't want Green to turn the ball over. We don't want him to get injured. We want to keep him in the pocket, not sacrifice his body, play smart.
Good point.
So that we don't get him knocked out of the game.
Good point.
Because Ohio, they didn't care. That dude was running here, there, and everywhere, and he didn't last a quarter.
Good point.
So if that was intentional, it was a great strategy.
It was. Yeah. I didn't think of that. Great point. Let's get into Genty now. Again, I think of the star of the game, the reason. If I had to pick one reason, he is the reason that Boise won this game. 23 rushes for 205 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 receptions for 49 yards. just a lot of the offense came from this one individual. Obviously, it's a team, it's a front that have to make those blocks in order to make him have those runs. Yep. But he'd hit it with speed, and it wasn't a 5-yard run. When he got through, he was chunks of yards over and over again. Very impressive. San Diego State really had kind of a two running back tandem. Armstead's the one you heard from because he's the one that had the 2 touchdowns in terms of a running back. But Kristen also had more carries than Armstead did overall. Right. Combined, they had 24 carries for 79 yards. So not nearly as big explosive plays as what obviously Genty was. Yeah. But they did have those 2 rushing touchdowns, both from Armstead. Looking at receivers, because we talked about receivers in the preview video, yep. McAllister's still the beast for Boise. He had a really good game. 5 reception, 90-yard, 1 touchdown. Cobb surprisingly only had 1 reception, and I think he is certainly a very strong receiver. But they only got the ball to him. Well, they got the ball to him several times. He only had one reception.
Gotcha.
But then looking at San Diego State, which was our big question mark.
Yes.
Brooks 5 receptions for 117 yards and a touchdown. Penny, who I thought had some huge plays for them, 5 receptions, 97 yards. So we said the only guy that has over 100 yards is their tight end, Redmond.
Now total. Yeah.
Total. Now they got 2 receivers almost in just this one game.
2 100-yard
in one game.
Which is fantastic.
Yes, right. So again, that was both Maiden. That was obviously the line. That was the receivers getting opened. Again, an impressive game from San Diego State's offense. I'll put credit where it's due. And then Redmond, the tight end, 2 receptions for 29 yards. So back to maybe where you kind of expect the tight end to be.
And defenses, I'm guessing, were probably keying in on him after seeing that film, going back and watching the first game.
Right. Let's get to the kickers here because, again, to me, the special teams piece here was another big reason why Boise could pull this off. Boise's Dalmas was 2 for 2, and San Diego State's Browning was 1 for 2.
Wow.
So, again, that right there's your spread. Missing that 1 field goal there for Browning. We talked about that in the preview show. If I remember correctly, he was 6 of 9 coming in, so now he's 7 of 11. You'd like more out of that from a potential top 3 or 4 Mountain West contender here. But Dalmas doing what he does. He can kick the ball. And as I mentioned, Ferguson Reynolds, 3 of 5 punts inside the 20. His long was 67 yards. Game changer. Yeah. Really a game changer. He had a flubber, but I'll tell you what, that special team play, specifically the punting play, fantastic from Boise. Looking at defenses then, Boise had 1 sack, 3 tackle for losses. San Diego State, 1 sack. Probably a little surprising given the strength of that defense. Yep. 5 tackle for losses. But, again, maybe goes back to your point about what the game plan was for Green, making sure he doesn't have turnovers, and only allowing 1 sack in the game. So Butler for San Diego State was fantastic. He was incredible. But really fun to watch. It was a game I was really looking forward to. I knew it was going to be close. It was close. 34-31. Boise State, again, looking like the team to beat. Good showing from San Diego State, just falling a little short in this one. Really enjoyed it. Was glad to watch it. I wish there were more, fans in the stands there for the Aztecs. Yeah. But what you gonna do?
Yeah. Got to get out there.
Yeah. So anyway, hey, if you like what we're doing here, we have a lot more Mountain West stuff coming for you. We're really keyed up coming up here in 2 weeks. We got the Fresno State versus Wyoming game. We are going to preview that. We're going to be all over that game. Certainly following both of these 2 schools very closely. I have picked Boise to win the Mountain West here. I know Steve is big on San Diego State, so you're going to get a lot more material on both Boise and San Diego State. Give us some comments if you were at the game, one of the less, in my opinion, 50% of capacity at Snapdragon. Let us know your thoughts. If you're a Boise fan, let us know your thoughts. Maybe you saw something a little bit differently than me. Would love to hear from you. And with that, hey, we'll see you next time on the Big Mountain.